All right, let's talk about the UK student visa interview. For so many people, it's that last super stressful step. But what if there was a kind of blueprint for success? Well, today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to break down one student's amazing preparation into a guide that honestly anyone can use to ace their own interview. So yeah, let's dive in.
I mean, really think about that for a second. You've spent months on applications, exams, all those essays, and it all comes down to one conversation. This isn't just some formality, right? It's literally the final gatekeeper standing between you and your dream school in the UK. So the big question is, how on earth do you prepare for a moment that important? Okay, the very first thing you need to do is change how you think about this whole thing. This interview, it's not a quiz. There aren't really right or wrong answers. It's a credibility test. The interviewer's one and only goal is to figure out if you're a genuine student with a story that actually makes sense. And you can bet that every single question they ask is designed to see if your story holds up.
So where does a story like that even begin? Well, it all starts with what we'll call your core narrative. This is the clear, logical thread that connects your past, your education, your work experience, to your future goals. This is the foundation. Everything else is built on top of this.
And if your narrative is the story, then your statement of purpose, your SOP, is the blueprint. Seriously, think of it that way. It's not just another essay you had to write. It's the document that weaves all the pieces together. It explains who you are, what you've done, and why this specific degree at this specific university is the absolute most logical next step for you. Let's look at a real-world example from the case we're breaking down. This applicant had a bachelor's in computer science and was already working as a software engineer. So choosing a master's in artificial intelligence, that's a supernatural, totally believable progression. See, it's not some random leap into the unknown. It's the next logical step up on a very clear career path. That is the kind of connection you have to establish right from the get-go.
Okay, once you've got that core narrative locked down, you're ready for the main event, the why questions. This is where the interviewer is really going to put your story to the test. And your answers here, they have to be specific, they have to be well-researched, and they have to line up perfectly with everything else you've told them. This is usually the first big one. Why the UK? Why travel all that way? And trust me, a vague answer like, oh, it's a good country, just is not going to cut it. Not even close. You need a structured, really compelling argument. So how do you actually build that argument? Well, here's a framework based on our source material. You can start by talking about the global reputation of UK degrees and how that gives you a career advantage. Then get specific. Mention access to certain resources, like cutting-edge AI labs that are relevant to your field. And finally, you can highlight the stability of the education system and the power of its professional networks. See? These are concrete, defensible points, not just fluff. And then, you know what's coming next? The inevitable follow-up. Why not just study in your home country? Now, this question is designed to see if you've really done your homework. It's a test of your commitment. The key here is to answer it without sounding disrespectful to your own country's education system. And the trick is to focus on the specifics. This isn't about saying one system is better than the other. No way. It's about identifying specific gaps. So for an AI student, that might mean a lack of access to, say, high-performance computing labs, or maybe fewer opportunities to join international research projects. It's a technical, logical justification, not an emotional one. And this slide right here is a perfect masterclass in how to justify your university choice. The applicant didn't just pick one at random. They actually researched other schools like Salford and East London, and then they pinpointed what made Dundee special, like a specific module on the ethics of AI that the others didn't offer. They even thought about the practical side, contrasting Dundee's focused, affordable environment with the hectic, more expensive life in a big city like London. That is an incredibly powerful and well-researched answer. And hey, don't be afraid to bring the receipts. Citing specific, up-to-date rankings shows you've really done your homework. Saying that The Guardian ranks Dundee 7th for computer science isn't just a random fact you memorized. It's hard evidence that you're genuinely invested in this choice. All right, let's switch gears a bit and talk about the practical stuff. Because look, your story isn't just about academic passion. It's also about proving you're a responsible, prepared student who actually understands the rules and, has the money to follow them. First things first, you need to know your numbers cold. For instance, how much is the visa application fee? The answer is exactly £524. Knowing that number instantly tells the interviewer that you're detail-oriented and that you've taken this whole process very seriously. And what about the immigration health surcharge, the IHS fee, for a master's student?
Well, it's exactly 1,164 pounds per year. Again, being this precise shows you're prepared. If your answers are vague, it just suggests you haven't bothered to do the most basic research. Okay, now for a classic trick question. Will you be working in the UK? The interviewer already knows you can work. What they're really asking is about your primary motivation for being there in the first place. Now, what's so smart about the strategy on this slide is the two-part answer. First, you show that you know the rule. Yep, you're allowed to work 20 hours a week during term time. But then you immediately pivot to your intention. By stating firmly that your one and only purpose is to study, you reinforce that core narrative that you're a genuine student, not someone just looking for work. It's a subtle but incredibly effective way to answer. Okay, so we've covered your past and your present. The final, absolutely critical piece of your narrative is your vision for the future, and specifically, a clear, believable plan for what you're going to do after you graduate. And let's be crystal clear about the goal here. A student visa is a temporary visa. The interviewer has to be 100% convinced that you have a credible plan to go back to your home country, and that this UK degree is an essential part of making that plan happen. So, instead of just saying something generic like, oh yeah, I'll go home, you present a concrete 3-step plan like this. Step 1, state your clear intention to return. Step 2, name specific companies you're actually targeting. Step 3, explain how your new AI skills will help you solve local problems back home. This shows incredible foresight and a real sense of purpose. And here, my friends, is the masterstroke. You back up your career plan with actual data. This applicant researched the expected salaries for AI jobs back in Pakistan, showing a range of 250,000 to 450,000 rupees a month. Now, this one little detail does two massive things. First, it proves you've seriously researched your home job market. And second, it makes your plan to return totally credible from a financial standpoint. Brilliant. So, after all of that, what's the single most important thing to take away? It's really simple. Stop trying to memorize a script. That's not the goal. The goal is to internalize your story. It's a story about your past, your choices, and your future. And you are the star of that story. Every single piece has to connect. Why you chose the UK, why you picked the University of Dundee, why that ethics of AI module gets you excited, and how all of that connects to your dream of working at Systems Limited back home. It has to be one single powerful narrative where everything just clicks. Because at the end of the day, this framework we've talked about, it's just a guide. The actual content, the passion, the details, that has to come from you. So the final question isn't about memorizing the right answers. It's about figuring out what is the authentic, powerful, and consistent story that only you can tell.